All right, and welcome into the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, your place for a refreshing and feel-good take on fantasy football and NFL gambling. April is upon us. We've made it through the thick of the winter months, and the NFL futures market is also taking shape. We've got our top 9 early picks, 3 each for the prediction market. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, absolutely fired up as I'm actually able to wager on the NFL draft without having to leave the safety of the great state of Pennsylvania. And back with me, a couple of the best degenerate gentlemen in the game, including a man who's been cleaning up across the golf and entertainment betting markets as of late. He's the jack of all, master of none here at IBT. He's Hot Take, Jake Perry. Jake, thanks so much for making some time for us, man. How are you feeling as we're about to give out these first futures of the season?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like you said, Kalshi makes it very easy to play different markets and play markets that are harder to find sometimes. And they just give you so many options, right? Like you look at a betting board typically on some of these plays and you're just like, okay, one guy pays out is like negative 800 and everybody else like, okay, I guess I'll throw a dart here. The fact that you can like still profit respectable amount of money on what you think is a lock there is very nice. So I'm excited for these.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to definitely be jumping into broader future shows in the future where we will feature sportsbook odds as well. But we really wanted to take a crack at these prediction markets first because there are a lot of unique offerings out there like that we're not going to be touching on today, like players next teams. Will a player be traded or not? That was really a cool one. Starting quarterbacks, all the NFL draft stuff that's out there right now as well. And also back with us is maybe the newest member of Who Dat Nation. He's Boston's boy, but living and dying seemingly with the Saints this season already. Steve, no spoilers, but seems like the glazing is going to continue on today's show, man.
Yeah, I don't want to get people too fired up in New Orleans, but I'm enjoying what the Saints are doing as much as I enjoy a beignet. So I think things are going real nice down there in NOLA. So I'm a big fan.
Jake, have you been to New Orleans? Have you had a beignet?
I have been to New Orleans. I have had a beignet. I much prefer a beignet to the New Orleans Saints as a whole, but I respect what they've been doing.
I understand that. I unfortunately did not get a beignet when we were there for the Fantasy Pros company trip a few weeks ago. It was Friday morning. I was supposed to meet Joey P and Welsh there and woke up, no phone, did not want to turn on. So we were in a bit of a predicament there. I got the call to the room to make sure I was alive. That type of morning for you folks. But I will be back, Steve, and maybe we can go together and get some beignets. That would sound great. Did have a lot of like interesting seafood though. I think there was gator down there. I had turtle soup for the first time. That was great. Yeah, po' boys. You get po' boys? Yeah. Anyone rip a po' boy before?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So,
did you guys do a like traditional like crawfish boil while you were there?
No, I did not.
You missed out, dude. It's the best.
I got some crawfish like loaded French fries, and that
Not
was
the
like
same.
it was pretty good. It was pretty good.
It's good.
Do a boil.
There's nothing like taking a whole crawfish, ripping its head off, ripping its ass out, slurping it all down, and throwing it away.
Hey, I will definitely have to try it. I don't think that would be that. I think that would have to be another company or guys trip because I don't know how my fiance would fare with that. I'm gonna be honest with her, but I'm here for it.
Loves it.
Okay, all right. Well,
if she likes lobster, she'll like crawfish. Same principle, just smaller.
Okay. And as noted on today's program, we will not be covering New Orleans cuisine, but we will be covering the futures betting odds here specific to the prediction markets. These are all going to be Kalshi odds coming for you. And we've got everything from the NFL draft, stat leaders to make the playoffs, and division winner picks coming right at you. And please do us a quick favor before we jump in as well. If you can just give this video a thumbs up, we'd really, really appreciate that. And also make sure you're subscribing to the brand new IBT podcast sub channel right here on YouTube. That's right. It's a channel for just NFL football, whether that's gambling or from a fantasy football perspective, all the time. You can subscribe right now, youtube.com/@IBT podcast. We'd really appreciate that support. And guys, let's go ahead and fire things up here in between bets.
Between bets. Between bets.
It's between bets. And, guys, I almost actually ran our Kalshi drop from our entertainment betting show, just, to spice it up a little bit, but I decided against it. But Jake, you have been on a heater, both in the entertainment betting market and on golf. What are you up? 50, 60 units as a whole this season already. So what do you have for us here when we get to the NFL? And are there any themes or lessons you can learn from those types of wagering and apply it back to NFL here?
Yeah, I mean, with both of them, right? It's trusting the process and building a model and sticking to it, right? There's certainly been weeks where the model hasn't worked out in our favor. I've missed weeks, and I've had weeks where you hit on the long shot, and that hitting on the long shot can make the season. If you stick to the model and something stands out to what you see, it really just boils back to trusting your gut and trusting the work that you put in. And if you put in the work, obviously there's shows like this where we give out great advice and we can do some of the work for you. If you don't believe in the bet, I truly believe in manifesting it. If you don't believe in what you're putting down, it's not going to win. So you might as well bet on some stuff you believe in.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's about building a portfolio, right? Like that's kind of what we're doing today. We're taking a first stab, looking what values are maybe out there now that will not be after the NFL draft. What values are out there now that will not be a week before the NFL draft. Those are kind of the, pictures we're trying to paint right now. And Jake, go ahead and get us started here. And you're actually going to go to one of these passing leader markets.
Yeah, I'm going with Joe Burrow as the passing yards leader in 2026. Got about a half unit on this, paying out at plus money right now. Really, it boils down to, no more Trey Hendrickson. So the defense is going to be worse. They're going to be trailing in more games, and they're going to throw the ball more. They already throw the ball a ton. In theory, we're going to get a full year of healthy Joe Burrow, healthy T. Higgins, healthy Jamar Chase. In theory, right? We've seen that backfire on us in various ways over the last few years, but I just think this offense is not the issue with this team. The issue is very much the defense. And when you subtract your best player from your defense, it's a lot like when we have seen those bad Cowboys defenses, and then Dak just goes out there and is throwing it 600 yards is not a surprise to see when we see how bad some of this defense can be. And especially in this division, you're playing tough teams. You're going to have to throw the ball to win against these teams. And Burrow, being at plus money for this situation just felt very, I don't want to say safe, but felt like a logical play.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it at all. I think it really comes down like him and Dak Prescott. I'm sure that who was probably the co-favorite for this particular stat category. I do like some of the additions that we've made here in this Bengals defense. Jonathan Allen comes over from Minnesota. They get Boye Mafe here from Seattle, and then Brian Cook back here now from Kansas City to play safety. So I do like some of the additions they're making, but you're still relying on some pretty young cornerbacks outside of DJ Turner that I don't really trust at this point. Is the pass rush going to be able to get home? That's the big question, right, Steve? Right. You lose someone here like Hendrickson. I just don't think you have the horses to necessarily go. You have a guy in Shamar Stewart who, realistically supposed to play one of those edge positions and do it at a high level across from Miles Murphy and Boye, but I just don't know if he can at this point and really make up that gap.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks, right? And yes, they brought in some good players, but they didn't bring in any great players, and they lost a great player. And this was a defense that was in desperate need of an infusion of elite talent. And instead of adding elite talent, they subtracted elite talent for God knows what reason, and then let him go to someone in the division. So, not only did you let him walk, you lost him for nothing, and he's going to play you twice a year, and he's probably mad. So, Joe Burrow, I think it's a great pick. If anyone's going to lead the league in passing, it's probably going to be him, maybe one other person I'd consider. But Joe Burrow would probably be my number one pick in terms of
Dak, is that the other person?
And then Dak is the other person.
Yeah, the favorites in the market when I looked earlier today, it was, believe it or not, Drake May and Matt Stafford. So
that is what you get with a place like Kalshi that is really modeled like a peer-to-peer, right? Is where you can set these lines, you can move these lines yourself a bit. Because that just feels way off to me, right? I do not see Drake May ever leading the league in passing yards. So, but Joe Burrow, even money here, play for Jake Perry. Don't hate that at all. And Steve, what do you have here for your third best bet? You're taking us back to the NFL draft, which happens here in the home state in just about 23, 24 days or so from now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Jeremiah Love drafted at number 7. That's to the Commanders currently. So assuming the Commanders don't trade out of that spot, I do expect them to go Jeremiah Love because the running game was abysmal last year. It wasn't good. They didn't have anyone who they could trust. And Chris Rodriguez was their most trusted guy, it seemed, which
Yeah.
is now a Jaguar.
Yep.
So Jaguar? Yes.
Yes.
I believe so.
Yes. Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're correct.
I thought so. I don't know why I doubted myself all of a
I
sudden.
mean, it's
but-
Chris Rodriguez. It's not, buzzworthy news by any
I
means.
guess I wasn't like
Like-
super well versed in Chris Rodriguez's career so far. But Jeremiah Love is a superstar talent. You know my feelings on taking running backs in the top 10. I disagree with the concept entirely, but they don't pay me to run NFL teams yet. So until they do, I feel like NFL GMs are going to continue to make this very dumb mistake. But you can see the why, right? Like they made a deep run into the playoffs 2 years ago. Jaden Daniels is hurt last year. The team kind of falls apart. No running game. Got to protect Jaden Daniels. Best way to do that is to get a running game and be able to make that play action more effective because, frankly, no one was respecting it at all last season. They were like, go ahead, run it with Chris Rodriguez, run it with Bill Krosky Merritt. Didn't matter. They were all kind of Jags, right? So you want a stud. And Jeremiah Love projects as a 3-down back. He has everything you want out of a running back. It's a great talent to have if your team is on the cusp, which maybe Washington is.
Yeah, this is really interesting because in my first mock draft, I have this exactly playing out like this, Steve. That was early March. I had Jeremiah Love going 7 to the Commanders, and this was back when the Chiefs were still really the odds-on favorite to get him. However, I worry with this. The market has steamed him up so much that I don't think he gets outside the top 5. And if you look at the odds, that's kind of what it's telling us. I would rather almost play that the Commanders are the team to draft him rather than go 7th, because I think there's a chance. And I wrestled with this. I'm going to have my next mock draft out here on fantasypros.com in about the next week or so. And I would contemplate, hey, should the Cardinals trade out of that 3 overall, Commanders come in, they grab Jeremiah Love at 3 to jump the Tennessee Titans. Because if not, I just don't know if he gets past the Titans. Jake, is that kind of like a similar read you have on this, or are you more with Steve that he does ultimately fall out of the top 5?
Yeah, Again, I hate drafting running backs this early just from a cost perspective, but I truly would be surprised to see Love get past the top 5 at this stage, especially like you said with the Chiefs, making a splash, getting their guy. It really boils down to, is Washington going to take that jump? Does he get past Tennessee? I don't think he gets past Tennessee, so I do think you have to jump him. That's currently my projection on things, is that Jeremiah Love will be a Tennessee Titan. But that said, if he doesn't go in the top 5, 7 feels about like his floor.
You guys don't think that Tennessee Titans now with defensive head coach Robert Saleh isn't going to go like a Caleb Downs?
They spent a lot in free agency to improve that defense, and I just feel like that offense is so bare. Like they have to do.
But they have running backs. Tony Pollard is good. Tajay Spears is good. You don't think
Tony
they go
Pollard is
Tate?
adequate. But
you
trust
don't
me,
think
I was
you
the
don't
Tony
think they go
Pollard guy
Carnell
on the.
Tate? Like they don't have a wide receiver.
I mean, they got Wan'Dale Robinson now. They got Calvin Ridley when he's back healthy. Like, dude,
that's also bad.
I will say I get where you're coming from on the defensive side of things. If we look back to the first draft with Saleh as the head coach with the Jets, Zach Wilson in the first round, Elijah Moore in the second, they went offense.
Yeah.
Well, that was all right, but the Jets were super stacked defensively at that point. He was coming in to take over a team that had a huge defensive presence and no offense.
I don't know. I just think for me, like I've been seeing Love floating around right around even money -105 range to go to the Titans. And I'm either going to be smashing probably 3 to 4 units on that in the coming days, or I'm also going to take a flyer on the Commanders rather than just bet, because I just don't think he falls outside the top 5, but maybe he does. But it felt like last year too, when Genty started to get the buzz that, hey, the floor for him is 6. We kind of knew that was kind of the floor. And I just feel like now the floor is 5 to the Giants realistically. So, but Steve, I still like the swing you're taking there. It's a low unit, high value in return.
Too.
Yeah, but yeah, plus 265. You can't hate it that much. for me, I'm going to take kind of a similar approach. This is my long shot on the program tonight. It's a team to draft Ty Simpson. I'm going with the New York Jets plus 398 for 0.6 of a unit. So just about 4-1 odds here. And this one is simple, folks. Like really, the Jets quarterback room is currently Geno Smith, Brady Cook, and Bailey Zip on the ball Zappy. Like their head coach, Aaron Glenn, already on the hot seat as well. And they have 4 picks inside the first 44 of the 2026 NFL draft. So they have that 33rd overall pick in particular, which I think is interesting because we know they could take that pick. They could take one of their 4th round picks, move into 32nd overall, trade out with the Seahawks, and then they get that, illustrious 5th year on his contract option if they want it. So for me, I think there's just a lot of doors that are opening for them to be the team in position to draft Ty Simpson. I was hoping it'd be like someone like the Rams for fantasy football purposes, but I think the Jets are the most logical choice. And the Kalshi betting odds here, Steve, they just don't agree because they actually have the favorites as the Arizona Cardinals, which don't make much sense to me with where they're situated in the draft. And then also the fact the Steelers are second in that market as well.
I actually have the Cardinals as my favorite to land Ty Simpson as well.
How? With what pick? You think the Jets are going to pass on him 3 times?
I think they're going to trade up into the first round and go get him. I think that's honestly the case. I don't think the Jets
have the draft capital to do it, though.
I know. I just don't know if that's really. I think they are in a state of we need to win right this second and save all of our jobs. This is a project. Ty Simpson isn't ready to be the guy. So,
but if you throw out a rookie halfway through the season, he's looking promising. I mean, he doesn't always save your job, right? Like it didn't for Gerard Mayo, it didn't for Brian Dable, but there are certainly times where you show some flash with a young
Brian
quarterback.
Callahan, it didn't for it doesn't.
Well,
it
Brian
didn't,
Callahan only got
didn't.
6 or 7 games, so that
but that's
kinda
the problem is that they know that's a kiss of death. I think they're going to try to draft defense because their defense was abysmal. I think Aaron Glenn believes in Geno Smith, which is horrifying to think about, but nonetheless true. I do think the Cardinals are going to be the most aggressive to go get Ty Simpson, or the Rams will shock us all and take him earlier than we expect.
Okay. Jake, any thoughts on Ty Simpson where he lands? Do you like the play here at nearly 4-1 for New York?
I don't know. And that's the worst thing to possibly feel when you're looking at a bet here. With the thing that worries me about the Jets, right, is how much is the ownership group there still feeling burnt on taking what was essentially a 1-year wonder of Zach Wilson in college, and will they parlay that over to Ty Simpson? Will they fade that kind of 1 year, one true great year in college and move a different direction for that?
Yeah,
it's something we got to think of here. Plus, people aren't going to love to hear me say this just because of the opinions that are out there. I don't love Ty Simpson's game. I think there's better options, especially if it's a guy that you're not going to start right away. I think Garrett Nussmeier makes sense. I think Drew Allar makes sense. I think there's ways that you can go that aren't simply Ty Simpson. Now, if we're talking like 3rd round and he's still there and New York hasn't taken a quarterback yet, I'm going to look like an idiot. The problem is just with such an up in the air profile like Simpson has for me, I can't confidently have an opinion on where and even when he's going to go.
Yeah. I don't want to be I feel like I'm the high guy on the program and almost in the industry on Ty Simpson. I'm not even like that far. Like in next year's class, he'd probably be QB 6 or 7. I just think he's a cut above the rest. Like I don't trust Garrett Nussmeier to stay healthy in the NFL, dude. Like he's got some real long-term issues with that degenerate knee. And I'm a Drew Aller guy, but I just at the same time, like that's a developmental project, right? I think Ty Simpson is a guy you could throw out this year. And is he a top 20 quarterback? I don't know about that, but I think he could maybe, top 25, win you a couple games out there. You're playing the Dolphins twice a year who aren't the best right now. So you can at least
Dante Moore should have come out.
I mean,
he should have came out. Mensa should have came out.
Oh yeah. Mensa had to go get that bag down in South Beach, though. You know what I mean?
I get it. Don't get me wrong. I get it. But
even Trinidad would have been a nice little compliment to this class, right? Like he probably would have been my quarterback too, honestly. So yeah, but we are stuck with Ty Simpson, and we are stuck with some more bets from Jake Perry. Jake, what else do you have for us? Taking a trip down to the local scene.
Yeah, I never like to bet on my teams, right? It always seems to bite back at me and not work out. However, the Bears at plus money to make the playoffs, I think makes a lot of sense. We're looking at a Green Bay Packers team who has folded yet again when the time matters, losing their defensive head coach or their defensive coach to the Dolphins, who, in my opinion, should have been the head coach there, and they should have let Matt LaFleur walk. And it would have been worse for the Bears to say that, to be respectful. Like that would have been a bad situation for the Bears. You have a team in Minnesota in the division that your quarterback options right now are Kyler Murray and JJ McCarthy. Depending on how you feel on that, neither are great options. And then you have the Lions, who Lions last year did not look like Lions of old. They've had plenty of injury issues throughout their defense, even on the offensive side of the ball. And this is make the playoffs. This isn't win the division. The Bears could end up a wild card team again, but I'm projecting a big jump, year 2 in Ben Johnson's offense for Caleb, continuing to grow with the pieces that we have. Obviously, we've taken some hits. Drew Dahlman retiring. The offensive line certainly takes a hit. No Kevin Byard, last year's interception leader. Defense takes a hit there. But we've got solid enough capital. We've got money to spend. And I think we're going to build a better team. And I struggle to see a world where we fall from where we were last year. I see it as more of see the Bears as a team more likely to take a step forward than a step back.
Yeah, I mean, they have the entire NFL draft to go, and they don't have a super barren roster by any means. They've done a really good job building the trenches up of this this team over the last few seasons. And what's interesting, Steve, is just the number here. Plus 170 feels very, very generous. While it is a competitive NFC North and just NFC in general, the Bears, who have just done this, sometimes we do see the second year regression with the head coach and quarterback combination. I mean, we saw that for the Washington Commanders, but unless it's a pretty drastic fall off with the number 1 schedule now being in play, plus 170 is not a bad play. I don't think I would overdo it here. Maybe it's a unit. How much you got on this, Jake? A unit and a half?
3 units.
Oh, okay. That now, Jay, how do you feel about that now, Steve? Hearing that it's a 3-unit play.
I like it. I like the Bears this year. I think they're a good team. I don't think the Packers are as complete of a team right now as they were. Micah Parsons is coming back from an injury. Josh Jacobs is another year older. There's, a situation there and a new defensive coordinator. The Lions seem like they're kind of on the downswing. The Vikings are going to go as far as Kyler Murray can carry them, which might be pretty far if he kind of reverts back to the Kyler Murray of old. They could do well, but certainly I think the Bears are in the best position of all of them right now, where, their GM, who was on the hot seat just last season, everyone thought he was a moron, is now really kind of building a really strong roster. I really like what they're doing there. So I love this bet.
Okay. And Steve, you also have some love for another team out in the NFC.
I do. And it's so strange to me to think this, but I feel like, and this is, I don't know how to say this in a way that doesn't make me sound insane, so I'm just going to say it. I think the Seahawks are a weird tad bit overrated.
They lost a lot in free agency, man.
Yeah,
They're definitely one of the losers of free agency. They lost a lot of good pieces.
A lot came together. And one thing that they also lost that I don't think we should discount at all is Clint Kubiak.
Yeah.
And that is a huge loss. A great offensive coordinator like that, look at the Lions. It makes a difference. When you lose something like that, it's hard to replace. The Patriots lost McDaniels for a few years, and our offense looked bad. We couldn't figure it out. It took forever. When you have those offensive geniuses and they can manipulate defenses in a way that creates those monster games, in those wide open plays for JSN. Now, either JSN is the second coming of Jerry Rice, or that scheme was dummy good because he was wide open way too often.
We'll call him A, we'll call him B, but yeah.
Yeah, but the Rams, I think, went out, addressed a position of need. They went and traded for Trent McDuffie, one of the best cornerbacks in the league right now.
Mm-hmm.
Backed up the Brinks truck, gave him money. They have a great young defense. Jared Verse, Fisk, McDuffie. There's pieces all over the place. Plus, you're bringing back the MVP, Matt Stafford. Devontae Adams, a year older, but still pretty good. Chomps himself, Puka Nacua, who can't keep his teeth to himself, is still, while he may be a head case, is still an excellent wide receiver. And then that 3 tight end set that they seem to be kind of revolutionizing the league.
Yeah,
with,
don't tell me about that damn three tight
Like,
end set, because I kept trying to bet on it and burn me every single time.
and now we're seeing Blake Corum rise. We're seeing another offensive weapon to complement. Now it's Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. You can't focus on one or the other. There's not a bell cow now. This is looking like a real dangerous team. If Stafford doesn't turn into a pumpkin and get real old real quick,
There's
a big question mark there, right? It could happen, but maybe not. And if it doesn't, if he plays at even close to that caliber, 90% of what he was last season, I think they win this division by a game, 2 games. Like, I think they're resting week 18.
This is certainly one of my favorite bets you've ever dished out here, and it definitely chomps at one of the best nicknames we've had on the program as well. So I appreciate that as well. And I love the roster that is being constructed here. The areas of weakness here, I think you go on that first round, around 15. What can you sniff out? Is there a Spencer Fano around? If not, do we have to settle for, a Monroe or maybe a Caden Proctor type of prospect? But either way, I think there's some holes you fill on that offensive line. I think maybe on day 2, day 3, you go out. I don't think do they not have a second? They might not have a second or a third. They only have one day 2 pick, I think, because, F them picks, right? But they could still add another pass catcher, because I think if not, it's probably Kanta. Mumfield was probably going to get that nod there, who isn't a bad little player out of Pitt a couple years ago either. So, yeah, I like what the Rams have been doing. Jake, if you're Les Snead and company, like, what are you addressing in the draft to make sure that this is a bet for Steve that cashes?
Offensive line.
Okay.
I'm shoring up the offensive line. The players there, we've already seen they've had some losses there over the past few years, and we've seen the situations when that offensive line doesn't cooperate. We've seen what happens when an offensive line goes downhill with an aging quarterback and they don't get that extra quarter second of time that they're used to having. If I'm drafting as Les Snead, I'm going that route. And I think that honestly, I think the most likely scenario is that they probably don't even pick at 13 at all. I think they trade back from 13. If I could have bet on that already, I would, because it makes the most sense for them to get to that point in the board. Who knows? Is Carnell Tate still on the board and a team's needing a wide receiver? Is there a team who is in love with Ty Simpson and wants to move up to 13? I know we want to say that's crazy, but we're just a couple years removed from teams trading up and drafting Michael Penix and Bo Nix.
We also kind of wrote off the Bo Nix pick a little early too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wouldn't be surprising for them to be sitting there at 13 and get a great offer to fall back a little bit. They do still have both their second and third round picks as well. They've got 13, 61, and 93. And if they're able to use 13 to go a little bit back, say the mid 20s, and pick up an extra second or a third, this is a team that can, has few holes and can shore them up very quickly with depth options.
Yeah, in my first mock draft, I had the Rams trading back, and then this next one, I actually have them trading up and going after one of these tackles that I had falling down the board a little bit. So, Steve, really liked that play from you. And I also really, really like some of these like first or second player drafted at a particular position markets that were out there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and give out my next best bet here, which is Caleb Downs as the first defensive back drafted, plus 101. I'm down 2 units on this. And folks, we can't get it twisted. This has been arguably the best defensive player in college football for the past 2 seasons. And Ohio State's defense, you and I, guys, we've been watching football for a long time, and I don't know if I've ever seen a better unit over a 2-year span. They lost so many people like Captain Jack, Tyleek Williams last season, and they just continued to bring it this year. But they weren't building that defense around Captain Jack or Williams last year or this past season with Reese and Sony Styles. It was built around Caleb Downs and what that guy can do back there in the secondary when he plays up close to the line as well. He led the SEC in tackles as a freshman. He was the SEC Freshman of the Year, first team All-SEC honors with Alabama, then decides to come up here to Columbus where he wins a national championship, 2 consensus All-America honors, Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, and the Jim Thorpe Award. And this guy's only 21 years old. That's the thing. You are getting this guy so young. And to me, I think there are just a ton of teams that could pick him inside that top 10 over the top cornerback in the class, Mansour Delaney. You got Arizona, I think is where it kind of starts the conversation. They just lost their best safety. You have the New York Giants, whose secondary remains a mess. Cleveland secondary, that outside cornerback isn't the most tied up. I think Washington is where if Jeremiah Love and Carnell Tate are off the board, I think that's where Caleb Downs ultimately falls, is Washington. Kansas City, though, I don't think he gets past Kansas City. That would be a playmaker they'd love to add. And like this to me is essentially, like, you guys know me from whether it's NASCAR or PGA, I really like to bet head-to-heads. And this is a head-to-head between him and Delaney, essentially. Yep. And the gap is definitely narrowing right now. Like, you look on mock draft database, we have Caleb Downs, the 9th overall player. You have Delaney as a 10th overall player. However, every single mock draft I've seen, every industry expert that I've talked to, Downs is still going ahead of him. And I think he deserves to be the favorite. Delaney in this market's like minus 170, which is just crazy that we can get Caleb Downs at plus money. So I'm all in here on Caleb Downs. And Jake, with your best bet of the night, you certainly are as well.
Yeah, Caleb Downs is going in the top 10. The fact that I can get this for plus money is absurd. And I've got 5 units on it because this is I'm having the same conversations I had when I said Kyle Hamilton was the best defensive player in the class his year. People said I was crazy. And look at us now. We're looking at a guy who can play corner, play safety, line up in the box. And we've seen the success that a team had just last year with a playmaker safety like that in Nick Emenwari for Seattle.
Yeah,
like this style of player who can be a multifaceted piece, because if you can trust your safety to rotate into the box, play against the run, and cover the pass all at the same time. That gives you the option of throwing an additional defensive back out there and treating Downs like a linebacker on plays like the Ravens do with Kyle Hamilton. We've seen Kyle Hamilton line up as an edge rusher. Like the physical skill set of these guys is so good, and their flexibility is so necessary in today's NFL that I don't see a world where he falls out of the top 10, because he is the best defensive player in this class. He may be the best defensive player we've seen in 4 or 5 classes.
I don't want to sound hyperbolic, but like, if you had to like give me odds and I could bet a future right now on will Caleb Downs be a Hall of Famer, I would find a way, if it was intriguing enough odds perspective, to make that bet, to tie up my money for 10, 15, 20 years, whatever. Because like, this is legitimately, like, we've had some great safeties over the years. Troy Polamalu, you've had Sean Taylor. Of course, Ed Reed comes to mind as well. Since you've had the Eric Berrys of the world, you've had players that like the Seahawks are willing to trade 2 first-round picks to go get at safety. You've had really good safeties. But I think Caleb Downs is in that conversation with level of prospect, and not just from hey, this guy was the top, rated safety in that recruiting class, 5-star prospect, but he followed up every single step along the way. I like playing just him to go over Delaney a bit better, just because maybe teams get crazy and they do just hate on the safety position. Steve, I think it would be dumb, though, to just fade, again, a potential, I think, Hall of Famer just because he plays safety, a less valuable position. Do you think they ultimately fade the position? And do you think I'm hyperbolic for, calling him that, and Jake for having 5 units down on this play?
No, I think you're both right. I think both of your bets are going to hit. For me, Caleb Downs is the best safety prospect since Derwin James. That's where I have him. So he comes out. He's a physical monster. You can line him up and he can cover a tight end. He can rush off the edge. He can play like that hybrid linebacker position, but he's not a hybrid like we saw with some guys like Sua Cravens comes to mind, right? Where he was too
Isaiah Simmons too.
Isaiah Simmons, too big to be a safety, but too small to be a linebacker. Yeah. And it's like, he didn't have a position. No, Caleb Downs is a safety. 100% all day long. He is a safety. You can just use him in those other positions as well. He's moldable. You can move him around. He's versatile. He's not positionless. He has a position. That position just happens to be all over the field. So I think like people undervalue safeties too often. But if you ask the Chargers, hey, if you could go back in that draft, would you have taken Derwin James earlier? Absolutely, they would have. He's a game changer for them. He's held down that defense for close to probably a decade now, right? Like, it's been a minute of Derwin James dominating. And if you could say to everybody right now, you have the number 1 overall pick and you have Derwin James on the board, they'd take him first overall right now. Like, what the career is going to look like Derwin James. That's what you're going for. They take him. And that's what Caleb Downs has. That's what he's looking at. So I think there are too many defensive-minded head coaches as well in the top 10, I think, for him to fall. Like I said, I think Tennessee might actually take him at 4. And I think both of you will cash your money real quick.
Are there any players in this class that you guys would feel more confident does not bust than Caleb Downs?
I want to warn that Caleb Downs does have high bust potential because
I don't know if he does.
He's got that knee that has shown to be already degenerative. That ACL is failing.
You don't need one. I've got no ACL on my left leg. It's fine. You're fine.
And you're not playing in the NFL. So
give me a couple of years.
Give him a couple of years. He's ready to go. Wait till those replacement players have to get called up and Jakey's ready. He's just warming up the arm.
I just think I would put him, David Bailey, and Love in a category of I can't find a world.
Who's the safest player?
Yeah, yes. I think it's those 3. I think it's David Bailey. I think it's Jeremiah Love, and I think it's Caleb Downs. Those are my 3.
I'd say it's Love. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we got a couple more bets for you folks, but first I wanted to remind you about the IBT football family. Yes, that is our exclusive community where you can actually get access to continue to chat with us after the fact as well. You can also get invested with our memorabilia giveaways for no additional cost. And then if you do want to get access to the full betting cards and our touchdown call contest during the season, you can upgrade for $3.99 per month or $36 for the year, or just join for free. If you do unlock the full benefits, though, you're also going to get our racing family, our golf and entertainment family with all the tools, contests, and chats they have, including the touchdown call contest, the NASCAR and PGA betting models and competitions from the head-to-head tournament, the one-and-done contest. We also have the Survivor 50 League going on right now as well. So a lot of fun stuff happening over there. in-betweenmedia.com/chat. Make sure you guys check out all the families, everything we're offering over there for you. And speaking of offering, Steve, you also have one more wager to offer. And we're heading back, baby. We're heading back to the Bayou.
Yeah, I got the Saints to win their division. I think that the New Orleans Saints showed a lot last year where they're getting better and they're adding talent in ways that I like. And more than that, they're removing bad contracts or guys that you almost had to play because they were like legends for your team, but it was time for them to go.
Hey, take Cam Jordan's mouth out of your name out of your mouth, man. That was disrespectful.
Well, it's like Cam.
To
Jordan,
be fair, you named him.
Demario Davis. There's a lot of guys that you had to kind of move on from. But I think what Kellen Moore is building down there is really exciting. But more than that, I think a lot of teams are getting worse. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not looking as good right now. I think the Carolina Panthers, they still have problems. They were able to win some games that, frankly, I was a little surprised that they won. I think the Falcons, I'm not encouraged by the fact that they went out and signed Tua. That means that they're not sure about Michael Penix. Is he good? Is he bad? And then your option is Tua, and it totally messes up your team because those are 2 totally different playing styles. I'm not totally sold on any of those teams. I am very much in favor of going with what I saw was an ascension, which is what the New Orleans Saints were going for. I do think the biggest threat to them in this division, weirdly enough, is the Carolina Panthers. I think they spent their money well. They have Teteroa McMillan.
Yes.
They added Jaden Phillips as an edge rusher, which was a huge problem for them. There's definitely stuff like that. But at plus 228 in a division that seems wide open and a team that seemed like they were really good as that second half of the season went on and they started to gel and figure themselves out. Now they're adding some more elite talent. I'm very excited about this.
I had to commend you for your play on the Rams because you got some really good value, specifically on Kalshi at plus 152. Most books you're showing around plus 140, plus 150 on the Rams. This is one, though, I would actually sit and wait on because I think we're going to get to the summer and maybe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a nice draft. Maybe the Panthers do something splashy like everyone's predicting right now. They take Kenyon Sadiq in the first round. So I think that some more juice is going to come for those traditional favorites way. And I think that's going to open up value for the Saints. I wouldn't be surprised if we get to mid-July, kind of that dead season in the NFL betting and just calendar as a whole, that we're going to see the Saints closer to like a 4 to 5 to 1, which I think is where they belong. So I like the play. I like the strategy. I just think this is one, Jake, I'm pressing the brake on and kind of just surveying the field because I'm already seeing him out there on some sports books closer to 3.5 to 1.
Yeah, this is one where I would like to see the odds a little bit more favorable, just given, last place team in the division last year.
And
But I get
QB.
it, right? They've made additions to this team, brought in Travis Etienne. How's that going to look with Kamara? I don't really care. Kellen Moore's running the offense. He made Tyler Shuck look good. Anything's possible in my mind with that offense. It's really going to boil down to, can the defense hold up? Can the defense bounce back off of a year where they were comparatively very average for, the Saints defense of the last decade, essentially, where we considered them pretty much perennial top 5 defense for the most part. If the defense gets shored up, the Saints have a good draft, I could see this actually flipping the other way and going closer to even money. I would like this to be able to be around like probably that 260 to 280 range. If I could get it there, I'd be very, very in on it. But I also can totally see this, blink of an eye being a closer to even money play. So
Okay.
I don't hate getting on it now, especially with being Kalshi being the way that it is. If the odds do go more in your favor, you can just buy more shares.
Yeah, that is a fair point for sure. They're always very generous with the cash outs, which is great to have in a marketplace like this. Steve, I got to tell you though, maybe the best thing in all of New Orleans, there's this roux potatoes, or what they call them. They're like kind of like these spicy potatoes and like almost like a holiday sauce. And they were on like, there was like some eggs Benedict, and they were also on these like little, I don't even know what to call them, but they were little like cake type things. But they were awesome. They were awesome. So highly recommend. I wish I could tell you what they were, but they were like a little like potato rice type cakes. But yeah, good stuff. You know what I'm talking about,
Right.
Jake? You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. I don't have the name.
Yeah. Someone let me know in the comments. If you guys know what I'm talking about, please let me know. I'd be curious to know. Yeah, big foodie.
That's my favorite thing that Seth does on these shows, and I'm so excited to like record Popcorn and Root Beer with you guys, because like Seth does this. He'll go, you know what's really great, and then he'll describe something in a way that no sane person could ever understand what he's going on about, and he's like, it's like my favorite thing, and he's like, you ever like your mouth opens and then like stuff goes into it, and then like a few seconds later stuff comes out of it, and then you're like, oh, breathing, and he's like, yeah. Like, I just love the way it all breaks down with Seth.
That's Seth Woolcock football, baby. And speaking of Seth Woolcock football, my best bet here, one I placed a couple weeks ago, Makai Lemon drafted top 10, no, -156, a unit and a half for me. And this is because like he is primarily going to be a slot only wide receiver. He's just 5'11", 192, not overly fast. He was playing on the outside at times in 2 wide receiver sets at USC, but at the next level, it's going to be really, hard, I think, for him to get separation out there with some of these rangier quarterbacks. This is a Blintikoff Award winner. I know that's really what's been steaming him up the draft board, right? But we got to keep in mind, like, that doesn't just mean these GMs are all in on him. Jalen Hyatt was a 3rd round pick and was a Blintikoff Award winner. I mean, heck, Doak Walker Award winner Ollie Gordon last year, 5th, 6th, 7th round, something like that. Jordan Addison ended the 1st round behind guys like Quentin Johnston and Zay Flowers in that draft. JSN, rightfully so, but still. And like, I just think like he has done no favors for himself, Makai Lemon, during this process, man. Like, wasn't overly fast at the combine, made some pretty strange remarks on the podium as well. So I'm like going to just assume he's not an awesome interviewer. Like, he might not be a terrible interviewer, and he might have just kind of been trying to play that up for the media or the fans, whatever. But a little bit of a weird demeanor there. And then like, again, I just think like there's the whole play strength question, right? Can he get off press coverage at the next level? So he's my wide receiver 3 in this class. I will likely be taking a shot at Jordan Tyson. He's floating around like +170 now, +160 range to actually be the 2nd wide receiver off the board over Lemon. So that's a market I'm going to be dabbling in likely too. But this was just a smash spot for me. I think the highest he could possibly go is 11 to the Dolphins. But I actually have in my next mock draft Dolphins to take Mansour Delaney. I think they have to get a cornerback at 11 if he's there. I think they take Delaney if he's there. And then maybe they try to use all that draft capital they have, move back in to higher up in the teens and try to go after someone like Lemon. I think there's a lot of teams there could use the services in the mid-teens. I just don't think it's a top 10 pick. I think if anyone's going out of these next 2 wide receivers of him and Tyson inside the top 10, I think it's like Jordan Tyson at 9 to the Chiefs, something like that. So no Lemon in the top 10. You actually probably aren't going to be able to bet this. This is continuing to get juice every single day that I check it. So would you guys be interested if the number was still reasonable, like minus 156? It just feels like the lock of the draft for me.
Yeah, it's a smash. I'd be shocked if he goes top 10. I won't say he won't do it outright. I'll put some money on it for sure. But like you said, I don't see the skill set being a top 10 pick. Like Amon-Ra was a much better prospect in the 4th round. I get, we're going to the USC comparison and whatnot there, but we've seen better wide receivers fall farther in the draft who had better profiles overall, better film, kind of just across the board were better options. Go later in the draft, especially a class like this, where this is not necessarily like the best fantasy football draft out there. This is an extremely strong NFL draft where positions of need for a lot of teams are very, very deep.
Yeah, tackle, you got a couple really high elite edge players in that top 10. Like I could not see Lemon going over someone like Ruben Bain, who's probably going to be right around that 7, 8 to 9 range as well. Steve, any thoughts from you? Do you think there's any chance Lemon could slip into the top 10? And if so, who's that team that pulls the trigger?
I don't think so. I haven't heard any rumblings of him even being a top 10 pick. Like this isn't even like, I think if he went in the top 10, people would be stunned. I think people would be like, you way overreached for what he's bringing to the table. I'm probably not betting it because at this point, like, just in case some stupid team does make a stupid decision, like, I don't want to be on the hook for it where the payout isn't nearly as good. So I probably avoid this bet, but I don't see him going in the top 10.
Yeah, that's why I love the draft market, though, is like, it's a place to get invested. And by the end of April, we've already cashed these. Like some of these futures that we're taking right now, we're going to have to sit on for 9 months, right? And that's something you have to take into account to every single one you take. And as you continue to build that portfolio, but with the NFL draft market, it's like, hey, we're going to take a couple swings here. We're going to find either profit or pain here in just a couple of weeks. But guys, great stuff tonight on the program. Thank you so much for all the analysis and fun you guys brought to it tonight. I really appreciate that. And if you've rode along with us so far this long, please just do us a quick favor. Give this video a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe both to the IBT podcast sub channel and also right there over on the IBT Media main channel as well. Over there, we, of course, have fantasy football and NFL betting, college football betting, NASCAR betting, PGA betting, and entertainment betting and reviews, all to really just help you cash more and to enjoy the ride along the way. Be sure to check out in-betweenmedia.com for some dope written content and join the community for free. in-betweenmedia.com/chat. Come continue the conversation. What do you like for any of these draft or future market bets? What do you think about New Orleans style food? We want to hear all that from you over there. So make sure you head over there, in-betweenmedia.com/chat. For Jacob Perry and Stephen Lawson, I'm Seth Woolcock. Thank you so much for watching and keep it in between until next time, y'all.